so receiver comes out.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed quarterback last year on Netflix. I know some people aren't necessarily as into this, like even when I talked to Mike, he said it was, parts of it were a little boring or whatever. I'm only 2 episodes in, but from the first 2 episodes, my biggest takeaways were, one, before George Kittle was already one of my favorite players, because you guys know how I deem football players as like guys that can do everything. Like I'm a huge Hines Ward supporter as being a great wide receiver because of everything that he did. I feel the same way about tight ends. I think if you play tight end, you should be able to block and you should be able to catch. You should be able to be involved in all parts of football. So he's already been one of my favorite players. He's extremely entertaining and he has so much fun on game day. Like he's not just like excited and like angry. He's excited and like ready to just go out there and has fun just whipping people the whole game, like blocks or whatever. Like there's one block where he's blocking the guy and he falls down. The guy goes, "Oh, I tripped my feet." And George is like, no, buddy, that was all me. Like he's just letting him know, like, you're going on this ride because I was sent here to kick ass. And that's all I'm going to do for the next 60 minutes of this game is wear you out. Whether it's in the pass game, in the run game, like I am such a fan of George Kittle, and this is like taking it to a whole nother level. And his wife is cool as shit. Like how much fun would it be to be on that party bus, like pregame? Like I'm not a Niners fan. In fact, I kind of hate on the Niners a little bit, but I would have so much fun on that bus. Like it would be great.
And the picture of him on that bus.
Oh, that's great too. Yeah. Like
I'm sure everybody in San Francisco, all the dudes in San Francisco love looking at that bus when it's pulling up to the stadium. I'm sure a lot of them were like, "That's George." You know what I mean?
We're already getting off the rails this early into the show.
I'm with you.
He's a little zesty. He is a little zesty.
I like the show. I like the show, but there's part of it where I'm like, all right, they don't need this. There's a lot of filler in there that they could have cut out. I think that I got kind of bored through, especially like the first episode. I was like, all right, dude, hurry the hell up. Like this is kind of dragging a little bit. But the second episode got better, and I think it got better after that. But I don't know. Like we talked about this last week, and I've said it multiple times. Like I wanted the access, and I don't know if I want it anymore. Like sometimes I don't want to know the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. But I think just like last year with Kirk Cousins, this is what kind of people have to see, the injuries. Like when these players are taking these injuries and these hits every week and to see what they're going through like mid-game. I mean, Tony, you saw in episode 2 with Davante Adams when he played the Chargers, when his AC joint or when he did his shoulder, you see him in the tunnel sitting there like in pain, wondering what he's going to do to get back in. And he wants to come back in the game. You saw it with Justin Jefferson when he did his hamstring, right? Like I think it's giving the players a little bit more respect, even though they should have already had it. But it's making people that don't know what football players actually go through, and they actually get to see the pain and agony that these guys go through each and every week. And it's not just one time; it's going on through the whole thing. I don't know if you saw, Tony. I don't know if you heard it, but did you hear what Van Rotten told Davante Adams in the huddle when he came back from this in the game?
Yeah.
I was like, really? Like, really, dude?
And Davante's reaction was perfect too. He goes, "Great, that's real encouraging." He's like, because he goes, "Oh yeah, I had an AC joint in high school," and he's like, "That shit still bothers me." And Davante's like, "Thanks a lot. That's really encouraging. I really appreciate that." I like that interaction. See, so my thing is this, Joe, is like, and Mike, I'm gonna let you talk. I'll make this real quick. I think this is great because shit is getting way too out of hand with people on the internet coming at these athletes sideways, saying shit about their toughness, saying shit about them personally. I love the fact that we get to see them be parents. We get to see them interact. We get to see their off days. Like, start understanding that all of these human beings are giving everything they possibly can to get out there, yes, to earn a lot of money, but also to entertain us. Like the sacrifices they make to get out there. Like George Kittle actually says, I love playing a short week of football. I love playing 2 giant football games in a short week so I can get a couple extra days with my wife. I think this is great. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys for the most part. By the way, Tony, that wasn't just like a little block. That was a pancake block on Aiden Hutchinson, one of the best edge rushers in the league right now. Yeah, it was very entertaining to see how George Kittle plays, and I kind of just binge watched this while I was editing yesterday. And I kind of made my wife mad because I realized that my wife probably would be a big fan of George Kittle, like she is some of the Chargers players, just because of his personality. That's kind of the way like I played when I was a kid too, just like goofing off, having fun out there. And that's what I like to see the most about George Kittle. The stuff that I like out of these documentaries the most is to see like some of these guys' mentalities. And I don't think every single person in the league has a mentality or a mindset at the level of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And maybe that's what really truly separates these guys. But just to see him like preparing for the season and all of his goals being listed on that paper and him chasing those goals throughout the season, even with hip injuries and all kinds of other injuries. And these guys, it seems like every football player gets a shoulder injury at some point. That seems inevitable. Yeah. All these guys had shoulder injuries. I have a shoulder injury. Everyone has a shoulder injury if you played football for more than like a day in your life. But yeah, it's just cool to see the mindset. That's my favorite part of it. I'm not a big TV guy. I don't like watching TV for very long periods of time. Like even when I was watching this, it was just like on my iPad off in the corner of the desk somewhere. So I don't really have a great TV mind to break this down entertainment value wise. Just as a football fan, I like to see these guys' mentalities. Like, I feel like out of all those guys, Deebo Samuel was like the least willing to just like go out there and put his body on the line, but he's the most physical in his play style. So it's interesting.
Wait, I don't elaborate on that because I don't fully get what you're saying, because I think the opposite way. Sometimes I think Deebo tries too much for the extra yards. Like even that play at the goal line where they're applauding him for not reaching, right? It's like he's still trying to, dude, you're at the 2-yard line. It's okay to go down, but he's like, that wasn't Deebo. I didn't get in there. And it's like, there are 3 human beings all weighing over 200 pounds trying to destroy you right here, and you're trying to get an extra inch. Like, to me, that's the mindset of Deebo, where it's like that kind of shit is going to shorten your career by 2 years.
I mean, less so on like actual play and like trying to fight for extra yards and stuff like that, and more so like, for example, comparing the Davante Adams injury to all 3 of the injuries Deebo suffered throughout that docuseries. I feel like Davante Adams' injury was worse than all 3 combined. Deebo missed like 4 games and Davante missed 0, right? I don't know if he missed any games last year.
Well, so, okay. Let's just say that he's out there, and a lot of times, like, you can use Davante as like a good decoy. And if it's a shoulder injury, it's one thing. But when you get lower body injuries that you have out there, to me, the injury that I can't even believe he finished the season with is Amon-Ra, is when they're like, oh yeah, so your oblique or whatever it was is torn off the bone. And I'm like, okay, your season's over. Oh, but I already know that this dude was an all-pro receiver last year with that injury and the toe injury where they're putting steel plates in his shoes. It's like, dude, this is unreal. Where you ever see the person who like stubs their toe, and stubbing your toe hurts way worse than anybody ever wants to admit. But when you do it at the beginning, you're like, that's it. They're going to have to amputate my foot. Like when you really catch it good on like metal or something, and it's like, you're like, that's it. Cut it off, doc. And then the pain kind of subsides. You can deal with it. And it's just sort of a little tender walking around. Like this dude is running crisp routes with what looks like to be a toe that got yanked in a direction it's not supposed to go. Then the next week ends up suffering that injury and is still out there every single week. So like, I don't know how to quantify. I told you, I'm going to do 2 episodes in a row every couple of days. I like to milk this. I'm not going to binge watch this. Although let's be honest, by next Friday, I'll be done with it.
Exactly.
That's training camp starting up. Like you gotta go.
I tried to binge watch it for the flat fact that I wanted to get a post out before anyone else could finish it. That's basically the reason why I binge watched it. But there's 2 other parts that are gonna come up, Tony, that you're gonna see with Amon-Ra. One, he gets really fucking sick, like where he can't feel his hands, his feet, and still plays through a game and has a great game. And then 2, there's a moment where they're doing a film study in front of the whole team, and it's one of the games that the Lions lost last year, and they were out of it. And you know, there was a Hail Mary shot, but the game was pretty much over, and it got to a point where they were just trying to run the clock out. And Amon-Ra was out there laying out the opponent's backup defensive backs and blocking.
Love it. I
because he knew he couldn't run routes anymore because they weren't going to call any more pass plays. So what can I do? I can go and lay people out. And when you talk about Dan Campbell, guys, that's probably the most Dan Campbell thing you'll ever see. Dan Campbell probably went to the GM and management and was like, I don't care how much we got to pay him this offseason. You see this? You see this? This is the exact player that we give that money to.
Yeah.
It's also that thing. Like, I have loved it ever since I heard what do you do to get your hands that good? I catch 200 balls on the jugs machine. Well, I'm going to catch 202 every day. Yeah. It's like that sort of mindset for whatever it is. It's like that little extra bit separates you. You know, it'd be like with my kid who's he's very much into animation, wants to be an animator. It's like, okay, well then you should be dedicating this much time to all of the techniques you're learning, the shading, the technology, whatever it is. Like, if you really do want this and you want to be an animator for one of these major companies that you aspire to be, then this is what it should be. It should be like almost treating it like a job. Like, it's not just, it's a dream to be at the highest level of anything, but it's like work that gets you to be there. It doesn't matter whatever it is. Doctors, like, you know, like, oh, well, I'm a thoracic surgeon or whatever. There's a difference between that person's commitment to what they were doing and the person that just ends up being like a pediatrician. Like, we need both of those things, but like the amount of work that you put in to get to what your dream level is, like, it matters. And you see Amon-Ra, who's not a prototypical size, you know, height, weight receiver, is one of the best to do it because the amount of work that he's willing to put in every single day and wants to, like, needs to, is addicted to it.
Yeah, and his parents, that's kind of like a really rare combo right there. You got a guy who came from nothing, worked his ass off to get everything he had in his life, who's also a really good athlete, apparently, when he was younger, according to his own claims, mixed with, you know, German woman, really disciplined, completely different culture, completely different mindset, and you put those two together and you get the St. Brown boys. I mean, that's awesome. And like, even his dad's mindset, I don't know if you got to this part yet, Tony, I don't know how much you watched, Joe. His dad's mindset when they were kids, because their original last names was just Brown. And he was like, that's too boring. Like, because he's like, these guys are going to be athletes. They're going to be superstars. They need a cool last name. So with his mom being German, they changed their last name to St. Brown just for that reason. For the back of the jersey.
I haven't gotten to that part yet, but I feel like that to me is like,
that's rare.
Yes, you are strategizing in your head, like you're already doing marketing and you're in some form of the entertainment business, which he was in. He was in competitive entertainment, which is what all sports are. And so it's like you start understanding the little tricks that you need to get to that point. You know, if your name is, there was a golfer, I think his name was like David Tom. He golfed at the same time as like Tiger Woods. Like, already I want to know more about whoever Tiger Woods is based on David Tom. Like that. So you have all of those little elements in there.
Super cool.
And you know what? Here's another thing too. I don't know. You've seen this part, Tony, where Davante Adams' wife invited the whole class over for, and they're like, yeah, some of these people don't even know he's a football player. I'm like, to me, I'm like, my whole world revolves around the NFL. Like, everything I do, I think about football every single day. So for people to be out there that don't even know who Davante Adams is, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, wow, like you exist? Like, there's people like you out there?
Well, I bet after they went to his house for the party, they probably Googled him.
That's what I always tell you guys, is because you guys we're all so saturated with NFL and everything, like knowing assistant offensive line coaches on some teams, you know, like, but there are people who don't watch the Super Bowl, who like actively avoid all of this stuff. And so they really aren't that, you know, like, don't know all of those people. They might be able to, identify a Patrick Mahomes or somebody that they've seen on multiple commercials, you know, like they'll know those type of things. They'll know Tom Brady. They know guys that cross over and stuff. Davante Adams is not one of those guys. So amongst NFL knowledgeable people, you all know who he is. But the average person isn't going to know who Davante Adams is.
And there really is levels to it. Like, for example, at a July 4th party I was at recently, we were playing a game, It's a spelling game where they come up with like random topics or random ideas, and you have to come up with a word that matches the letter that the game determines. So, for example, in the game, it told us that we had to make words out of the letter C, and the category was celebrity. And I was just talking to one of the guys who I just met that day, and he was telling me that he's a big Seahawks fan because we were talking about football and stuff and jobs and all that kind of shit. And then I was like, okay, this is a perfect moment. Celebrity. And the goal is if you can get like a double, like a CC name, you get bonus points. So I was like, Charles Cross. This is so perfect. It's a tackle for the Seahawks. Just told me he's a Seahawks fan. I'm going to put it out there. No one's going to know who it is except for this guy. We're going to have this moment together. He had no idea who Charles Cross was.
Dude,
I'm like, you're a Seahawks fan, my guy. What are you doing?
You could have went Chris Carson, right? You could have went Chris Collinsworth. You could have went Chris Carter. I could have CC'd the shit out of this game.
You could have CC'd the whole NFL, and he didn't even know who his own player was. So I was like, all right, well, when he said Seahawks fan, you meant like I wear Seahawks ball caps when I watch football games.
Yeah. In which the NFL is a lot of that, right? Like that's how you get hundreds of millions of fans, and that's how you get things there. The thing that the NFL is thriving off of right now is people like us, is the minority of people who are still like, oh, wait, did you see this post? Like what we're about to do, where we're sending each other off-season bullshit from Dov Kleinman's timeline. Like that's how the NFL keeps staying like in the conversation year round, is because of guys like us that are like, hey, we just enjoy consuming football. And one of the things I realized this week when talking to my wife was like, because I really love TV shows, but the older I get, the more like emotions in shows really start to weigh on me. There was scenes in a show we were watching last night where the mom is dying and kids are saying bye to their mom. That really brings up some bad shit, some bad memories for me, especially this time of year was when my mom passed away, and I start getting emotional. The reason I love the NFL is I get all the emotion, but it's all the crazy excitement or anger or whatever it is for a couple of hours and it goes away. It doesn't really it doesn't hurt me or make me feel bad. I just get to be excited about something and then it just goes away. So like TV, the things that people binge or whatever, like eventually they just start to be a little too real, you know? It's like, and I don't necessarily always want to be in that world. And that's why football is my favorite escape from real life. And it will be forever and ever.
And that's why I hate the show Receiver, because it's bringing up all the fucking memories from last year. And I already buried them. I've already gotten to the new Raider way, and it's just like bringing all this crap back. And like just watching the losses, and I'm like,
that loss. I love it.
We talked about Deebo. We talked about Kittle. We talked about Amon-Ra. Justin Jefferson's was pretty on par to what you'd expect Justin Jefferson to be like. But Joe, I gotta hear your take if you watch this doc on all the stuff that y'all put Davante Adams through last year. I mean, Davante Adams looked like he was going through hell in this documentary.
I mean, I know they do it for the TV aspect of it, so they build it up a little bit more. It's a little overrated in some aspects of the show, and then some of it, I've always told Raider fans, like, I don't care what we gave up for Davante Adams. Like that first and second round pick was worth it. I mean, just show up early to a game and watch what Davante Adams puts on before the game, let alone in the game. Like, this is the greatest wide receiver in the game right now, and we have him on our team, even if we're losing. And so I don't know. He was frustrated, and there's a lot of things too. But like, he kind of came off as a little bit of the diva too. Like, you know, you're gonna get hit, but this is what you signed up for. Like when you left Green Bay, you kind of knew where you were going.
I kind of disagree. I don't think he was being a diva. I think he's being reasonable because, I understand if he was a rookie wide receiver coming in the league with no cred, with nothing built up, and he's already complaining this much, sure, maybe he's being a diva. We're talking about an all-pro wide receiver in the NFL, probably a future Hall of Famer. Like, this guy deserves a certain level of play in the pocket. Like, he should expect that no matter who is there. So when Jimmy G is throwing him into a hospital room every single freaking drive, I wouldn't even say game. Some of them was almost every drive. It seemed like Davante Adams was getting thrown into a hospital hit. He should be complaining about that. He should be asking for the next guy up if it's that bad and the team's not winning games and he's getting one target in a game at home versus his old team. That's just embarrassing, honestly. I would be pissed too if I was in Davante Adams' shoes, and I would have wanted the hell out of there last year, let alone, this year. What's about to happen?
So I don't think franchises owe any of these players as much as some fans think they do. But I do think there's a little bit where if you're going to make an investment in Davante Adams, then it would be smart business to try and locate a future quarterback for your franchise or who it is. And I think that Derek Carr was that guy, and the owner inexplicably just decides to side with a coach who wasn't getting any results. And he then said, well, we weren't getting results before Derek, so maybe Derek is the issue. Derek was never the issue there. Is there a ceiling for him? Sure. But they're not, it doesn't even seem like they're trying to figure that out for Davante Adams. And that's the part where I think, you could make a claim that they do owe him at least the pursuit of a franchise quarterback.
They have $40 million in cap space right now.
I don't know.
They're sitting on it. They're just sitting on it.
But what's out there?
Monte's going to leave, and then they're going to go after a quarterback, and then what's it going to matter? Or are they going to be the team that goes, you know what? Didn't work in New York. Aaron, come and try it out here, which will be the funniest thing ever. Honestly, I would never want to see Aaron Rodgers in a Raiders uniform, but with how much shit you've talked about him, Joe, I think it might be worth it at this point to get Aaron Rodgers.
Are you going to gobble him down when he's on the Raiders?
Not as much, no, but I just think it'll be funny to see you hate on him while he's on the Raiders.
Same thing with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott would be a good Raider quarterback next year.
True.
And I talk a lot of shit. It doesn't matter. I talked a lot of shit about everybody.
The day Dak gets signed, I am turning on him with the most vulgar laced video. If he becomes a Raider, I'm turning on Dak fully. But that was my favorite part. That was my favorite part of the whole documentary. No other part was any better. Was when Davante revealed to the production crew in that little tell-all, I met with Aaron for 4 hours last night, and we just could not stop talking. Eventually, it just got too late, and we had to go home. And then you see the clip of them on the field after, and how Davante's saying, I know next year is going to be better. And Aaron Rodgers is yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be better for you too, buddy. He could be saying it's going to get better now that you guys got Antonio Pierce, or he could be saying, I've already talked to Joe. If you ever become available, we're trading for you.
Okay. You guys are getting too spoiler here. Let's
I'm enjoying
my kid. I'm not saying nothing, but Aaron Rodgers did come out yesterday on the golf course and say he wants to play with Davante Adams. He can't wait to play with Davante Adams, and he said again, it's gonna happen.
And again, and this is a good transition for you, Tony, because we're going straight into Dove hyping up this stuff. He means golf, but I am all for hyping up and feeding that he means football.
Yeah,
but I don't know if you saw Breece Hall today. Breece Hall was on Kay Adams, and she was asking about what Davante Adams would bring to the Jets, and he was basically talking like he was already a Jet. I don't know if you guys saw the Breece Hall interview.
I did not.
Tony, same thing. If Davante Adams is traded to the Jets, are you Super Bowl run?
No, the Jets are cursed, Mike. There's nothing about the fucking Jets that makes them a good team.
You just can't get over the curse?
No, they can have the best team in the world. You can put the all-star players together, and the Jets will somehow fuck it up.
I do think that it's very contingent on health for the offensive line. I think they can lose players to injury on defense. All teams are going to suffer attrition. It's where it's suffered. And if the suffering is on the offensive line, I do not think that is something that they can withstand even a little bit. But they could have some injury trouble in the secondary, or even with some of the skill position players on offense. Rodgers is going to figure that out, how to still get him there. If they lose a tackle, a center, I just don't see how the offensive line is strong enough for that team to continue to win at that sort of a level, even if they do have two elite wide receivers at that point. And then I will put Garrett Wilson there in that elite category because I think that that's his range with competent quarterback play. So like you have a future Hall of Famer and a future, all pro caliber player. Like, yeah, you have a great team, but I don't know. Like, I'm still not putting the Jets in the Super Bowl, Mike. It's just not going to happen. Like, I can't see it.
Tyron Smith, John Simpson, Joe Tippmann, Vera Tucker, and Morgan Moses. That's your offensive line for the Jets right there.
And David Bakhtiari. Don't forget about him. And Mekhi Becton's on the team still. Kind of.
No, Mekhi Becton's on the team.
He get cut?
I thought he signed somewhere else. He signed with where did Mekhi Becton sign? I thought he signed
as a backup.
I want to say he signed.
When did Bakhtiari sign?
Mike's just putting Bakhtiari on there because he saw him at TEU out there.
Yeah, I thought he came out and said he wasn't going with Jets. But come on, like how many games do you think the Jets get of those 5 offensive linemen? Like that 5 starting core all together.
If they get 14, they're going to win 11 of those 14, and then the rest won't matter.
And that's what I'm saying. If you can get with that starting 5, if you can get 13 to 14 healthy games at that starting 5, they can be in a spot where they're winning 11, 12 games this year. Because that defense is legit. That defense is going to be number one. A lot of times I think it's hard for defenses to continue to maintain the success from year to year, but that defense is built for it because of the defensive line rotation that they have and because of the players they have in the secondary and then linebacker play. Quincy Williams is one of those guys that we don't talk about at middle linebacker, like with Roquan and Fred Warner and stuff, but Quincy Williams he's a dude. Are they
going to get Reddick to show up? Is he going to show up soon?
Who?
Yeah, he just takes us to the next level. Man, I don't know what you guys are freaking looking at. Like, I pulled up the roster here. I see the concerns with the O-line if they lose the tackles, but I feel like that's a concern for everyone. But you're saying that, Joe, like let's say Tyron Smith goes down in week 2. Why do you think they drafted Fashanu?
Okay, so then you're putting a rookie out there, which is good, but sometimes rookies go through their draft pain. I'm not even just talking about that.
True, but you're acting like they're SOL. They don't even got a starting caliber guy available when they got a top 10 pick as their backup swing tackle, and they have a decent interior O-line. Like, this is a good O-line with a super defense and super weapon core.
And so the only reason that I say that
Jets gear on, we might as well just get you some Jets gear.
I got some Jets gear lying around here. If you want to,
I think you defend the Jets more than you defend any other team. Like,
I have a Rodgers Packers jersey.
I will say this. The reason that I stress the offensive line in the way that I do is because the quarterback is 40 years old coming off an Achilles tear. And that's the thing where the offensive line is that much more, it is more intricate to the success than it has been in the past. If this are 33, 34-year-old Rodgers, then I'm not as worried about the offensive line at all. And I'm saying the Jets are in that Super Bowl conversation.
Who do they play week 1? Who did the Jets play week 1?
Playing 49ers on Monday Night Football in San Francisco.
And they're going to upset them.
Maybe they do. Maybe they do. But that defensive line that he's going to be playing in week 1 it's going to be a real test. I want to talk quickly.
A real test for Brock Purdy. I'll tell you, that's a test for.
Anthony Monsanto had something here where he talked. He said he brought this up where I disagree. If a player has been loyal to a franchise their whole career and he wants to be traded to a certain team to win a championship, the franchise owes him that much for the loyalty. I disagree, buddy. It's a business, and that's just not how life works. If an organization is in a position where they can do that, they want to do that, that's great. But I don't think they owe that to the players. Like they should want to get them to a good situation, but they don't have to trade them to the exact team that they want to. Like I don't believe that. They still owe it to the other 52 players on their team to try and make moves to put them in a situation to win. And if team A that the guy wants to go to is offering a 5th round pick and team B is still a good situation, but they're offering a 2nd or 3rd round pick, you need to go with team B, even if that player doesn't like it.